Thank you, Mr. Chair. Real briefly, this proposal, in a way, kind of was a perfect collision of sorts. We had a brand new chief financial officer, and he too was flabbergasted by the fact that our investments of our assets could return such a low rate of return. One of the problems that we have identified, and as well as the speaker staff identified, was that with a asset pool of about $2.8 billion, CSU was only able to generate in 1 year a 0.8% return on investment. And so the question became, well, why is that the case? The case is because under state law, we are limited to only invest in high-quality, low-risk investments. And what I mean by that is that we are only allowed to invest in U.S. government bonds and agency bonds and commercial paper and certificates of deposit, those sorts of things. And so one of the things that we were struggling with was the introduction of the how are we going to fund our new capital program now that the authority has been folded over into the CSU. And what we are proposing here is to amend statute so that we can invest in a little bit more, I guess, for lack of a better term, I think a more broad, diverse array of investments. So you're looking at corporate bonds, you're looking at corporate annuities, that kind of thing. And so what we have noticed under some of the other tangential entities that work within the CSU, we have a risk management authority, and we have a number of foundations on each of our campuses, as well as a central CSU foundation. Those bodies are able to, under their own statutory constructs, invest a little bit more broadly and have a better rate of return. What we would hope to do with a greater rate of return would be to invest in our capital program, really kind of beef that up with these returns over the long haul. Obviously, it's not going to be one of those things where it's going to happen overnight, but over time we'll be able to invest at greater rates. I think one of the things that you probably all may be concerned about would be the potential risk to the state in terms of, would the general fund be on the hook? And the overriding answer is that no, the general fund would never be on the hook for this. The funds and assets that we invest and earn returns on do not involve the general fund whatsoever. These are a lot of our enterprise activities, such as dorms, housing, well, those are the same, dorms and other items, parking structures and that sort of thing. So we would greatly appreciate the support for this statutory change.
Thank you. Elio?
We would note first that the proposal that we've seen would completely strike out the part of the education code that limits them to investments that the state treasurer is limited to make. So it would give CSU full discretion in how it chooses to and what it chooses to invest in. It could choose to invest in corporate bonds. It could also choose to invest in other forms of stocks. It would strike out that part of the education code that regulates that. Our view is that this proposal offers both some potential opportunity but also very significant risk. And we would recommend the legislature very carefully consider this proposal. As some background, in conversations with the state treasurer, the state's investment policy when investing in public funds is that it seeks to, one, safeguard public funds by investing in low risk and also a diversified portfolio to avoid loss. Two, to ensure that cash is available so that expenses can be covered as they arise. And three, within those two constraints, try to get some sort of return on an investment. We would also note that CSU has reported that they're not investing general funds. They're investing a lot of their enterprise funds as well as some tuition. Even though these are not general funds, CSU is a public university and it serves students, and we would be concerned about what would happen in years where there are losses, what the implications of that would be. So we think that this proposal raises a number of policy questions that you might consider as the legislature First, why does CSU report having, $2.8 to $3 billion to be able to invest? Is there a reserve level that the legislature thinks CSU should maintain? Are there funds above that that we think is appropriate to invest? Secondly, we would recommend that the legislature really consider how much investment risk it thinks is acceptable for CSU to take on for each of its key revenue sources, not only state general fund, but also tuition revenue and enterprise funds. And thirdly, and related to that question, we would recommend that the state consider what its role would be in an event that CSU would lose certain revenues or funds because of a riskier investment that it would have made. In addition, we also would like to more thoroughly consider CSU's financial condition as just part of a technical exercise to make sure that it can take on this additional risk. We have some ideas about how to get there, and we're glad to elaborate on that as you look into this proposal some more.
Okay, continue.
Thank you. I don't have too many comments. We've also received the request, and we've worked with the speaker's staff and the CSU. We're happy to continue those conversations.
Thank you.
The other thing I want to point out, and I know my colleague Jason is doing a good job of pointing out some of the deficiencies. But one thing that I have to take exception with is the tone of his presentation. It has come across as if the CSU might not be at its best at investing and being entrusted to do the right thing with its funding. Now, we run the SWIFT portfolio. We run the CISRMA portfolio. We have 24 foundations system-wide. We consistently beat the benchmarks that you would compare those benchmarks to. In addition, the CSU credit rating through its system-wide revenue bond program is superior to that of the state of California. So I wanted to point that out as kind of a counter argument that I don't want you being left with the impression that we have no experience with this. We have many years of experience in investing a lot of different unique and complex assets, and I think that the state students would be better served. We would be able to not just dig a hole and stick our money in it, but we would actually be able to let that money work for us and for the students and for that institution.
What are the ratings of your investments?
We are, for Moody's, we're AA2, and S&P, we're AA minus, and state of California is, for Moody's, AA3, S&P is A plus. So we're just a tick better.
But not outstanding, right? I'd like the California Department of Veteran Affairs. How do you compare with them?
I don't have that information in front of me now, but I think we're
Either double and triple.
We're in pretty good shape, I think.
But I think they're better. Just a point. Fine. Public testimony on this issue? I see no public testimony. We'll go on to item number 8. Review of the awards and the proposals. You started out with Molly, right? Department of Finance? Great. Let's start.
Molly Quasibarth with the Department of Finance. The 2015-16 governor's budget proposes $25 million one-time general fund to continue the awards for innovation for a second year. First, I would like to give a very brief overview of the current year innovations program. The 2014 Budget Act provided one-time funding of $50 million to recognize and reward public higher education campuses that implemented innovative changes to address 3 priorities: increase the number of bachelor's degrees awarded, allow students to complete their bachelor's degrees within 4 years, and ease the transfer process for students progressing between educational institutions. The applicants were also asked to describe how their innovations would address the achievement gaps of underrepresented students. Finance received 58 applications from campuses describing a wide range of strategies to achieve the program's goals. A committee was convened by the Director of Finance with finance employees serving as the staff. The committee met on March 20th to select the award winners and the award amounts. The committee approved the staff recommendation to give awards to the top 14 ranked applications. 7 of these were coordinated by a CSU campus, 6 were coordinated by a community college, and 1 was coordinated by a UC campus. Most of the applications, however, included multiple participants. Pending committee approval of how the award winners propose to use their awards, the 5 applications in the top group will each receive $5 million. The 5 applications in Group 2 will receive $3 million each, and the 4 applicants in Group 3 will receive $2.5 million. The committee is meeting on Monday, April 27th, to discuss and approve the reports each awardee has submitted on how they're going to use their funds. The 2015-16 governor's budget includes $25 million for the awards, focused on CSU campuses. Legislation accompanying the budget describes the program's goal of ensuring that more students can graduate with a bachelor's degree within 4 years after beginning their higher education. While the proposal would authorize the committee to make awards directly only to CSU campuses, community colleges, K-12 schools, and UCs could also participate in the efforts, just as they can in the current year program. Given the high number of high schools and community colleges that did collaborate with CSU in many of this year's applications, we expect those institutions to be well represented in this year's program as well. The focus of this year's Innovation Awards program is to address the very low 4-year graduation rates at CSU campuses, which is only about 18%. The purpose of these awards is to encourage campuses to thoroughly evaluate the causes of their low graduation rates and then develop creative and aggressive strategies to address these causes. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Well, thank you. Let's continue on. Then I do have some questions for you, but we'll continue on. Jason, LAO.
And for the 2015-16 proposal, we recommend the legislature reject it. In our view, this is an award program that they're not implementation grants, they're recognition grants. And they reward campuses for activities they have either done or will do. Our concern is that it's rewarding campuses for activities they have done or for actions that they haven't taken yet. They might have taken those actions with or without the program in place. Looking at some of the award winners this year, in fact, some of those programs had been in place for a long time. Long Beach Promise is a notable example of that. So we think that the one-time funds could be spent in other ways and other one-time purposes. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan, CSU?
Well, for CSU, we're kind of stuck in the middle here. We have one entity that doesn't like it and others that are supporting it. I think there's a lot of benefit to it. One, you're adding recognition to activities and best practices that obviously our campuses are showing that we actually are successful at, but also are being awarded for it. Now, what I'm getting at here ultimately is that with the funding that would be coming from the Innovation Award, campuses will be investing in a lot of one-time activities, which are obviously needed no matter what, because as I've demonstrated in a prior item, that our system needs more money as much as a lot of other programs. I think you can go through the competitive process of awarding these things, but you could also provide this money on a one-time basis to the system as a whole, or to the which could be allocated to campuses, and it could accomplish the same sort of purposes of investing in a lot of one-time items that could benefit the education of students. You're talking about infrastructure upgrades, one-time instructional materials and or equipment, those sorts of things. But, with higher education, one-time money it's hard to really invest that in a lot of things, because quite literally 85% of our budget is tied up in salary and compensation. We're a people-powered institution, and so one-time money has a very limited amount of use. But at the same time, there is some value in investing in one-time items and activities.
I appreciate that. There any? Let me go to the questions, and I got some questions. I assume. Can I call you Molly? I assume, Molly, the reason the governor did this was he was trying to incentivize best practices. Was that his objective?
Best practices and to encourage campuses to be creative in coming up with new practices.
Good. So is there an anticipation that these people who are going to be recognized, I guess, on April the 27th, are then going to share it, and there's going to be some energy to other campuses to do similar activities?
That's been one of the goals of the program all along, is to kind of disseminate and scale up these best practices. And we've talked to a number of people that are interested in the awards program to get some of their ideas about opportunities for sharing these, such as presenting at conventions and meetings and conferences. At the committee meeting on Monday, we've put together a panel of people that are going to kind of present their ideas on how the state can increase the innovations in higher education, and also how we can work to have the campuses share their information with the goal of kind of replicating these across the state.
So I don't know if this is to you or to Ryan. What is the process in which we're going to disseminate these great best practices? Any hard dates, ideas, ways you guys are going to do it?
Well, I think, one of the things our committee, this is a question that the committee that was formed to establish these awards is very interested in, and I think in our initial comments that Molly referenced, it takes place in a lot of different forms. And finance will be speaking at meetings and conferences, but I don't know that we're necessarily the best messengers of this particular message in all of the context. So one of the things that we're trying to understand is, how do institutions learn, and who are the people from which they want to learn and need to hear that message. So I think there's a lot of ideas about how do you create networks of campuses, how do you build into existing networks focused on professional development, how do you engage those entities that are already involved in technical assistance. So I think it'll be a strategy. I think we want to be definitive about it, and we plan to create a very kind of formalized structure for it. But it won't just be the state. I think it'll involve a lot of other organizations and institutes that are already doing this work.
And if that's the case, then the LAO's comment about Long Beach Promise, which has been there for some time, has that been shared? Or is there a similar project like Promise at other city colleges?
I don't have the number off the top, but there's certainly that model is a model. So the Long Beach Promise model is a partnership between high schools, community colleges, CSUs. It's a very kind of well-known model, and it has been expanded to a number of different regions focused on the same goals.
Okay, last question before I turn it back out and I go down and vote. Ryan, would you rather just have the $50 million for your long-term continuing programs, or a $50 million one-time fund? Jason's watching you, by the way.
Let's see. How do I answer that question, sir?
I think you did.
If I could just note, though, on the model itself, that the committee has allocated funds to 14 different applications, has allocated $50 million to 14 applications, but the committee received 58 applications describing changes they've made to advance the state's goals, and the remainder of those applications didn't receive funds. So I think one of the benefits of this model is you create a standard that you want folks to meet, and you create an incentive for them to do the most ambitious things and the most challenging things maybe locally in order to try to get a piece of that prize. And these prizes are relatively significant, and that was a big part of the incentive the committee wanted to create, that you create a top prize of $5 million to say, if you are willing to go out on a limb and try new things, there's a chance that you can be recognized with a relatively substantial financial award.
And having ran a state agency, I know when you do governmental programs and you use governmental funds and you do incentive programs, it's often what you're trying to do is determine what you want to accomplish, and you clearly define your objectives with measurables, and then you put a program in place, and then you do what we did. And then you see, did we get there? And so I haven't heard that yet. I understand we got this great thing going, but, or do we have them, Molly?
I think our approach has been a little bit different in that we've established the goals, but we think that the campuses, at the local level are best suited to come up with, develop the strategies based on their student demographics. And that's kind of why we'd rather have campuses do this than have the system-wide office give campuses money to, increase their graduation rates, for instance.
Well, I appreciate it, but you want to make a comment? Go ahead.
I do. I'm gonna stick my neck out there.
I love that.
No, I think there's been a lot of good that has come out of this program. For sure, the fact that a lot of the goals that the administration has built into this program are goals that we share at the CSU. One thing that I think that has been really beneficial in my short tenure at CSU and in seeing this is that this has really created a lot of conversation within the CSU and among the campuses. We already have a number of affinity groups within the CSU that meet on a very regular basis. The chief financial officers, the provost, various groups and folks, and they oftentimes are sharing best practices and best ideas that way as well. And we do a lot of presentations at the Board of Trustees to show a lot of best practices as well. I think this is just another one of those avenues where the stakes have been raised. There has been a lot of conversation about these types of best practices at our campuses as well as others, and it has fostered more conversation about ways to move the needle on student outcomes.
Well, thank you, and let us know if we can do anything to help spread the word on your great work. And this was fun. I'm back to you now. I'm going to go vote.
I enjoyed the break over here. I'm tired. Okay, public comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Philip Ong on behalf of California Forward and the California Forward Action Fund to discuss both the comments for the 14-15 year and the out year. California Forward partnered with California Competes, the Campaign for College Opportunity, the Center for California Studies, and Young Invincibles to put on a higher ed innovation showcase in March preceding the vote by the board. And what we did is we brought in the applicants from that applied for this money. 32 of the 56 applicants came to meet and at the showcase and exchange ideas and talk about the proposals that they put forward to the state because this money was on the table. And the energy in the room, I think, would make any policy wonk in this building proud because it was an energy that I think the community was really looking for. And the first round revealed, the first round of funding for 14-15 revealed that innovation and rewarded leadership at campuses, at the campus level, really showed innovation and policy that was way out there in front of what the statewide effort could possibly been. Also, virtually all of the winners and most of the applicants explicitly sought to close the enrollment, achievement, and completion gaps for disadvantaged and ethnically underrepresented students, which I think is a worthy policy goal that the legislature has also been seeking. And similarly, while the goals did not require collaboration, virtually all the winners and most of the applicants we're finding success in deep collaboration, both vertically with K-12 and other universities as well as horizontally among campuses regionally. And that is something the state has encouraged for years but has found it difficult to legislate. In many ways, the awards are encouraging, incentivizing, and rewarding exactly the innovation that policymakers have been trying. I got cut off. Oh, sorry. To legislate. And I'll be brief, Mr. Chair. And the awards are doing so by encouraging campus to use existing resources and the authority to prioritize what the legislature has sought. Much more work needs to be done to figure out how to improve and replicate these innovations. And our showcase, I think, shows that there is a public and private partnership here to spread and disseminate these ideas so that we can see these innovations really spread as we start to evaluate the costs and the benefits. But there is a high probability that the state is buying much more innovation with the awards than they could have if they tried to push these through regular and traditional base funding. And in response to the LAO's concern, California Forward really doesn't see why there is an either-or question, where they think there's value in promoting multiple initiatives and improving outcomes from both what the LAO was seeking in their recommendation and also what the governor is seeking. And we hope to partner with the Department of Finance and speak with the rest of the staff of this budget committee to hope that this item moves forward. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. This item will be held open as well. And yeah, thank you. So that's the last item. Good day. But we're not adjourning yet. We're waiting for Mr. O'Donnell to come back up to vote. So, but we've finished with today's items.